Hello, my name is Andrés Fernández-Diep, and I procrastinated the creation of this script for over 2 months. Today, I stand before you, in one way or another, as a subject of immense pressure. Pressure that I am only under because I have something invaluable. Today, I have an idea which is undoubtedly worth spreading. In fact, today I bring an idea that is almost worth nothing unless spread. You see, that's the magic of it all, that you have the power to make this idea priceless. This duty is, in turn, almost entirely dependent on my success at transmitting this idea tonight. This is going to be difficult, because not only am I going to talk about the issues that you have been led to avoid, but I am going to contradict some of the ideas that you have been most likely told throughout your lifetime. Naturally, I spent hours on end thinking on how to write an opening statement which will grasp your attention and make you eager to understand and support my idea. I even wrote my script with all the literary devices on my English book, but still failed to eliminate the uncertainties that my speech would provoke. So I stand here with the most objective thing known to man until now: numbers. Because since my talk began, approximately 10 children have died of hunger. Around 9,893,000 US dollars have been stolen as a source of corruption. Almost $10 million, which could have obviously saved those children from starvation. You could buy almost any private jet. Maybe even, if you're a good negotiator, get a deal for a private island in the Maldives. But more accurately, those are almost $10 million, which could have fed 247,000 starving children for a year, according to World Health. It's sickening, so we decide to look away. It's that and the fact that we don't feel we have a voice. In fact, in most cases, people don't, resulting in our future being juggled by the hands of the few. And before I go on, I wanted to point out that most interestingly, 137,000 US dollars have been generated from social network advertising since my talk began, and that the second most followed YouTuber earned $70 million in 2019 alone. I myself find it incredible that we currently have the resources and technology to solve the problems that threaten us both personally as well as humanity as a whole without having to sacrifice any luxury, and we still decide to be subject of the problems and beliefs of the people before us. Don't get me wrong, it's they who have led us to where we are today, but we are the ones who have to implement a radical change in order to continue developing. Most of all, I find it frustrating. Frustrating to see how the world is being buried. For what? How can't we understand that what we are doing this all for has no value once we're gone? I feel powerless, and I never want to feel like this ever again. So, what if I told you that throughout the centuries there has been one force with unmatched strength? A force to which the entirety of the current system we live in bows to. But most importantly, a force which we can now summon with a simple finger movement. That's us. Our generation is the first to hold the power to channel such strength with a simple tap of a finger. As a part of today's youth, I've gotten tired of my elders telling me that social media is a waste of time, that I must get out more to appreciate the real world. To be honest, I did spend most of my 2 month procrastination cycle using social media. But what if that was all I needed to do to save the planet? Today, social media has a long-standing stigma of being a waste of time, and still, over 97 trillion hours are spent on these per day. What if all we needed to save the planet were 2 minutes of this time and a follow? These channels are being used to transform celebrities into billionaires every day just by looking. What if we migrated that power to give a family a meal? Today's real world is growing around technology every day, and whether we like it or not, it's not going anywhere. We know that every single case of crime, corruption, poverty, and hate revolves around our separation. But I have a proposition to all. With social media, we won't look away, and we won't play by the rules, because we're maybe the last generation with a chance to change what increasingly appears to be the fate of humanity. It is a current ideology that achieved an 80% reduction in poverty from 1970 to 2006. It is also to blame for the 19-year increase in the global average life expectancy from 1960 to 2015 alone. It has given us unprecedented levels of economic growth and groundbreaking inventions. But now, it also finds itself in a world with growing discontent and inequality, paired by existential crises as never before, starting by the most visible climate crisis, to which it simply still denies to confront. And we continue living in a world where consumers have little to no contact with their products before they buy them or after they dispose of them. I think that society has already reached a point where this current ideology fulfilled its objective, and now we can begin to stop being subject to the problems that previous generations have left us. Now we have all our needs covered, and we have enough technology to use it for the real development of society, in which new areas of study will be discovered, because people's objectives will be above and beyond money, but to find passion without the need to take advantage of the limitations or of others or always be acting out of self-interest. You might even be wondering what you're doing watching a 17-year-old talk. What can he possibly tell you that you don't know already? I can give you an insider view of someone who still feels alienated to today's world. Someone who still doesn't understand why we are how we are and why we do what we do. And whilst it may seem so mundane to all of you, for all that I know, we're not doing it right. Because bigger isn't always better, and cheaper isn't always the best choice. With all, believe me that I recognize that I was born and will most likely grow up in a capitalist world. So today, I came to offer a tangible solution built around it and how much it has given us. One of the most beautiful things that capitalism has gifted humanity is free competition, where consumers have the opportunity to tell providers what it is exactly that they want and how they want it, although this, for many reasons, does not always happen. Just a few months ago, a group of colleagues and I decided to undertake a project with the intention of giving a voice to those who do not have the power to decide what our priorities and objectives are going to be, where we want to spend our money. 4ACT. 4ACT is nothing more than a platform through which the population can come together and show a market that is willing to put the greater good first, without being subject to the society that surrounds them. 4ACT is an interface in which we can bring together the collective effort of millions to be able to achieve a greater good. Here, we show to the world what we want. In the free market, I am one of the many people who firmly believe that there will only be peace when it becomes profitable. Well, I think this is the time and way to make it so. I understand many people do not have a margin of action that they can use to implement a positive change, thus finding themselves in a vicious capitalist cycle that is burying our planet. But this gives them the opportunity to help without having to sacrifice much. People just have to show what they want and be vigilant to be able to achieve a positive change. It all sounds very idealistic, but how does this actually work? Once you have achieved a follower base that is big enough to appeal to local businesses, we plan to offer advertising in return for the firms to perform a good deed. These actions could involve making a good, non-profit taking use of the product, cutting their use of plastics, or simply donating money to any of the organizations we recommend. Throughout this process, we will include full coverage of their actions and continue to advertise them as a socially beneficial firm. This way, consumers have greater contact with the origin and process of making their goods or service. Through our platforms, our followers can apply consumer pressure to ensure that firms take valuable actions for the well-being of their surroundings. By doing this, we will be giving people, mainly the younger generations, a voice to make a positive impact without implementing any major change in their current student life, or having to strike every Friday because of the overwhelming powerlessness. Companies will never invest in more sustainable production if it appears to have no reward or demand. Today, with a little attention from the people, we can shape the markets towards greener processes and, at some point, have better results to our investments for cheaper prices. So this talk is for you. You who feels powerless as your future scrapped for parts by business magnates that will be long gone when we are living the consequences. This is your opportunity to put good first, above their personal economic interests. This is your time to act. And I'm not necessarily telling you to follow 4-act whatsoever. I'm telling you that it can be done. All we need to do is not look away. This is a government that gives the power to the people that has been discussed for so long. Thank you.